your name, your mighty love stands strong to the end. You will fulfill your purpose in me. You won't forsake. You will be with me. You will be with me. Here I am, God, sing. Arms wide open. Oh, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. Say it again. Here I am, God, arms wide open, with my arms wide open now, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. All to Jesus now. All to Jesus now. I'm holding nothing back. Holding nothing back. I surrender. You want to throw your hands up and say, I surrender. I surrender. Say, I surrender. I surrender. All that I am, I surrender. I surrender. Have your way. You belong. I surrender. I surrender. To your will and to your way, I surrender. I surrender. Use my life for your glory. Say, I surrender. I surrender. You ought to tell it right where you are. I surrender. Let's go. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong. I will be free. So here I am, God, arms wide open. I'm right here, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. They say this mountain can't be moved. They say these chains will never break. But they don't know you like we do. There is power in your name. We've heard that there is no way through. We've heard the tide will never change. They haven't seen what you can do. There is power in your name. So much power in your name. Move the immovable, break the unbreakable.
So, hello to everyone. So, such a pleasure to have you. My name is Nigel Bishop, and Anne-Marie Stewart was my aunt. She was my mother's little sister. And of course, I'm so delighted to see the kind of turnout that we have. And I think that Anne-Marie would have been delighted too to see that you've made the effort, you've taken the time to come here to be part of this honoring of the life of Anne-Marie Stewart. Before we get into the proceedings, I would like to recognize a few people. Those sound effects are for us. I would like to recognize Francis Ann Solomon, who was Auntie Anne-Marie's only child and the love of her life. I would also like to recognize her brother and sister, Uncle Jimmy, James Stewart, and her sister, Grace and Jopakaba. Now my vision, I see Auntie Grace behind there. I would also like to recognize that there are so many people, forgive me if I leave you out, but there are close friends who turned up at the apartment not too long after Anne-Marie decided she'd had enough and she went her way. So I'm joined by Carlos and Maritza Hee Hong, Marjorie Thorpe, Jackie Sharp, and such a privilege. And then, of course, there are the people who lived at Regent's Tower with Auntie Anne-Marie, and I'm thinking particularly of the mermaids. They call themselves kind of the geriatric mermaids, and they were just there, right? So I'm seeing Bridget, I'm seeing Eileen, and the three of them, they went down to the pool quite often. And Liz, who's the tutor, and Patricia, forgive me. And I'm recognizing other people, but you see a little more of them because they will be part of the program. So, apart from the people who are here, and again I thank you for making the time, there are people who are joining us online, and I can say for a fact, and I welcome you all online. I wish I knew where the camera was. Oh, right in front of me. And I'm thinking particularly of people who are joining. I'm thinking of Tobago right now. Of course, there'll be people joining in Trinidad, but in Tobago, Auntie Janet, who is Auntie Anne-Marie's big sister. There she is. Right. Auntie Janet, and I know that there will be Auntie Janet's niece, Auntie Anne-Marie's niece, Chaku. And Chaku will be there. And of course, many others. Then I think of Jamaica, where my brother Roger Bishop is joining. So one of Auntie Anne-Marie's nephews, Roger. And then let's go up north to Canada, where I know this service is being watched by Auntie Janet's daughters. So that'll be Michelle, Genevieve, and Nicole. And I'm going to stop at that generation. I'm not going to go to the next generation, although I'm hoping they'll be watching too. And now I'd like to go across the pond to... No, I'm going to Cameroon, where I think we're joined by Sawan. That's correct, Tiensha? So we're joined by, and I forgot to mention, Tiensha, forgive me. Tiensha is Auntie Grace's daughter, and she's been pivotal in the whole thing. And then we go up north to the UK, where Tiensha and Sawan's siblings will be watching, and I'm thinking particularly of Muntio, I'm thinking of Siep, and I'm thinking of Chuinang. You hear those lovely Cameroonian names? So I'm going to stop there. And now, according to the program, there is now supposed to be an opening prayer, which I will say. So I want you, please, I'm getting hints from the audience, the congregation. Please stand. Heavenly Father, we thank you for life, and we thank you for this life that we all enjoy. We thank you for the privilege that you gave us of enjoying Auntie Anne-Marie for such a long time, because you gave her a long life. And Father, we pray that we'll recognize what a privilege it is, and that we will make the most of it, and that we'll do it in a way that doesn't glorify us, but glorifies you. And I pray this in your precious name. Amen. Have a seat, please. The first scripture reading is to be done by one of Auntie Anne-Marie's dear friends, that is Maritza Hihong. And I'm going to invite Maritza up right now to read her passage.
Thank you, Nigel. The reading is from the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 13 to 18. Happy is the man who finds wisdom, and the man who gains understanding. For her proceeds are better than the profits of silver, and her gain than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things you may desire cannot compare with her. Length of days is in her right hand, in her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her, and happy are all who retain her. The word of the Lord. Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you, Maritza. We now have a reading by the daughter of two of Auntie Anne-Marie's dearest friends, Desmond Allam and Kathy Allam. And so the next reading will be done by Tara Allam.
A reading from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8, verses 14 to 17. There is something else meaningless that occurs on earth: the righteous who get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked who get what the righteous deserve. This too I say is meaningless. So I commend the enjoyment of life, because there is nothing better for a person under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad. Then joy will accompany them in their toil all the days of the life God has given them under the sun. When I applied my mind to know wisdom and to observe the labor that is done on earth, people getting no sleep day or night, then I saw all that God has done. No one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. Despite all their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning. Even if the wise claim they know, they cannot really comprehend it. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Tara. I realize now that in my haste, I hurdled the first hymn. So we're going to leave it on the ground, and we're going to go ahead with that wonderful hymn, All Things Bright and Beautiful, which is a little children's hymn, but we can still sing it. Incidentally, all these hymns are taken from the Bishop Anstey hymn book, isn't it? Right? So, Bishop Anstey girls, please sing along. I can't carry a tune. And in fact, if one of you cares to join me up here to sing into the mic, one of the guests of honor is insisting that we sing God of Mercy, God of Grace. I don't know the words, but they're written here. So let's rise for God of Mercy, God of Grace. And I understand that we're going to be given the music. So remain seated, please, and we'll go straight on to all things bright and beautiful. Remain standing. seated. The next item on the program will be the reading of a short story written by Auntie Anne-Marie, and it'll be read by Francis Anne.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Just give me a minute to find everything. Of course, I'm a mess. And while I'm looking for this, I'll say that I came here very sad this morning. I didn't really sleep last night, but she looks so happy and peaceful. She looks so happy and peaceful, and it makes me happy. And she's right there, so she's not going anywhere. So, my mother was a storyteller. You might remember that my first film was called What My Mother Told Me, and it was stories my mother told me. And she was a closet writer. She really wanted to be a writer, even though she was very successful in her career and so on. This was her, and she was very supportive of her friends who were writers. So anyway, this is a short story that she wrote, one of them. There were many, and I plan to publish them. It's called Amy. It's hard to sit down and write stories about Mummy because I cannot easily remember her like that. For me, she's talking about her mother. For me, it's as if I have her right here with me every day, all the time, as I go through my day. Especially in the morning before anyone else comes into my life, she's right there. And as we look out at the world together, she makes a wry comment about someone going by. Don't ask me what she says. It could be anything about anyone, but she does. Because Mummy always noticed little things about people, and she would say so. That man walks just like Mr. Phelps in Toko, who used to bring us plantains from his garden. Or, you think I should tell Miss Fiddler her half slip is down past her knees? And oh, here is a memory while we're on the subject of Miss Fiddler. Remember that Christmas morning at the 6 o'clock service in Hanover Methodist Church? Miss Fiddler forgot to put on her panties. And Mummy had to drive her home to put them on. I was so upset because Mummy missed about 4 of the hymns that I knew she really enjoyed singing. But she didn't seem to mind. And as stoutly corseted Miss Fiddler marched back into her place in the choir, my mother slipped back into our pew, singing as if she had been there all the time. Indiscreet, to my everlasting delight, she wrote the book on it, though I didn't always approve. There was that old year's night when I was sitting in the dark on the front steps of our home with my school pal John, who was black. She didn't put that in, but he was a black person. My mother came peering out of the front door, bending down exaggeratedly as if she could hardly see him. Who's that? John? She came closer and gave him a big hug. Well, boy, I hope the new year brings more illumination into your life. And with a huge grin, she turned quickly and disappeared back through the front door. Determined, she showed us all how never to give in. Remember that Saturday morning when she was determined that my sister Janet could not go out to play tennis without first tidying up her bedroom? Poor Jan. As the eldest, she always got the full brunt of our parents' sporadic efforts at raising obedient children. So Mummy locked Janet in her room, and the people passing in the street stood up at our gate to catch the show. Our mother was in the driveway under Janet's window with a broom poking fiercely up at Jan, who, still determined to leave, was climbing out through her bedroom window. Avis, our housekeeper, and I, standing in the garage, looked anxiously on at the drama. Then Mummy got one of her heart attacks. We had to rush her up the back steps and through the house into her bedroom. We had to undo her bra and fan her. And as she lay where she had flung herself on the bed, Janet came into the room to tell her that she should not have tried to stop her from doing what she wanted. But when all was said and done, it was Mummy's determination that had won out. There was nothing she thought she could not do. I remember when she decided to make a brassiere for me. She took an old one of hers apart, piece by piece, so that she could have patterns for all the little bits involved. I can see her now, sitting barefooted on her bedroom floor, cutting and tacking them together. I'm not sure when she gave up on that particular venture. I think her lifelong buddy, Mrs. Baden-Semper, must have told her, Amy, you could waste your time on foolishness, eh? Every Friday afternoon, I would get into her Morris Minor car with her. First, she drives up to Rapsey Street to collect Mrs. Baden-Semper's susu hand. Mummy always has a susu gang. The names of the ladies are written on the back of an envelope in her handbag. Una Baden-Semper, Alma Bryan, Mab Gibbs. Also, some of the ladies bring their susu hands to her at home. And each week, a different happy lady gets the draw. This lady is now able to treat herself to a new dress or buy some little indulgence. I always know what's happening, but not a word is ever said beyond the Susu Lady circle about how they fund these weekly transactions by sneaking a portion of the quote-unquote house money they get every Friday from their husbands. Peggy Gibbs' memory of Mummy has her breezing into Auntie Mab's house one morning in her housecoat and holding a teacup. She has driven all the way from Belmont to St. James for Mab to read her tea leaves. One day we're sitting at the dining table for lunch and Mummy strides in by the front door. The week before she had been persuaded by the men in charge at Neil and Massey, all of them were my father's friends, to trade in her beloved Morris Minor for a strange, newfangled Anglia. So now why is she walking? And where is the new car? Mummy sits down forcefully in her place at the head of the table. She snorts derisively, rubs her nose furiously, shakes her head disgustedly. I told them to take back their damn car, she says. My mother, my role model. 40 years later, here in Canada, I felt she was right there with me when I too told them to take back their damn car. And I could feel her walking home beside me. Anne-Marie Stewart, September 2021.
Thank you, Francis Anne. I was hearing that short story for the first time. Wonderful. We are now going to have tributes from Auntie Anne-Marie's friends. We don't have a set order, so I'm going to use my prerogative to invite Marjorie Thorpe, who's closest to the mic, to come and give hers. Please, Marjorie.
Well, my earliest memory of Anne-Marie, when I went to Bishop's in 1953, I think she must have been just going into sixth form. And my earliest memory of this girl, collared half turned up, Saga Boy style, and with a little walk and an expression that said, "Don't let them frighten you." I have 70 years on, I would say, she certainly was not frightened. Nobody frightened her. I have 2 documents from Anne-Marie stored on my computer. And the first is another short story entitled Finding My Father, which she sent me in 2020. And then the lyrics to Kitchener's 1977 classic, Slippery Ann. The 2 narratives are very different in tone, in form, in storyline, but they both reflect I think, the spirit of audacity, which was a term coined during the civil rights movement and which is defined as the moral courage and daring in the face of injustice, fear, or adversity. I believe that Anne-Marie possessed this spirit, and she expressed it in the courage and confidence with which she too challenged and even defied norms she considered unjust or absurd. Finding My Father is about all her father's successes and professional and academic and professional successes, but it also includes a couple paragraphs about his mother, Cecilia, a woman who also had the temerity and the audacity to refuse to give up her son. She was a single mother from a low-income family, and she refused to give up her son to be fostered by a family who was more social and economic, of a senior social and economic status. And it was this courage, this determination to defy that I think Anne-Marie, or I know Anne-Marie, admired. But much as she admired her grandmother's moral courage, she took, I would say, a special delight in Kitchener's Cyprian. It was a calypso written in 1977 when reports of domestic violence were not regarded with the abhorrence they deserve, and Kitchener invites us, tongue-in-cheek, to share his indignation, indeed even his anger at his partner's audacity in having him return from work tired like a mule to an empty house and a pot of burnt food. And he says generously, "Carnival is nice, carnival is sweet. I don't mind she takes she little jump, but leave me something to eat." And fortified by the knowledge that society and tradition is on his side, he leaves home, determined to find her and discipline her on spot. It's a hopeless quest. I get a rate she jumping up with solo. Time a reach, they say she now gone with Tokyo. Hours later, eyes red from searching, feet cramped from walking, he finds Tokyo on Henry Street, only to hear the captain say, "Kitchi, you're looking for Anne? You're 1 minute late. She just gone with Kateliban." Two women, very different generations, different personalities, but both of them, like Anne-Marie, determined not to surrender to dehumanizing values. In the case of the grandmother, as I said, it is seen in her refusing to allow society to force her to equate self-worth with social status. For her part, Kitchener's Annette will not be boxed into an oppressive gender role. Different generations, different personalities, but all three at one with their daring into do what has been defined and having the energy to act with courage, even when it is difficult and risky. Anne-Marie and I became friends as adults many years after we both left Bishop's, and at that time she was living in Toronto. Ours was a friendship grounded on mutual affection and respect. She proved that I could count on her support and kindness when needed, and I believe that there are many here who would and could say the same thing. We are told that great men leave footprints on the sand of time. Recently, I came across another quotation about footprints, this one from Eleanor Roosevelt, and it goes like this: "Many people will walk in and out of our life, but only true friends leave footprints in your heart." Anne-Marie has left a very large footprint on my heart, and I will miss her sincerely.
Thank you, Marjorie. Because of Auntie Anne-Marie, I learned some of the lyrics to old calypsos that I would never have read. I said that the person closest to me was Marjorie. In fact, I was wrong. The next tribute is supposed to be coming from Auntie Anne-Marie's niece, Tiensha. And so, please, Tiensha.
Good morning, everyone. I am Auntie Anne-Marie's niece, as Nigel said, Tiencha, second daughter of Grace, her youngest sister. Growing up, I didn't really know Auntie Anne-Marie. I knew of her. I knew all my aunties by name, Auntie Janet, Auntie Margaret, Auntie Anne-Marie. I knew we had an Uncle Jimmy. And I only met Auntie Anne-Marie probably 25 years ago when I went to Toronto on holiday with my young family. I then got to know Auntie Anne-Marie in the past year in depth because I came to live in Tobago 7 years ago, and I don't frequently come to Trinidad. But I met Auntie Anne-Marie, just when I say met, bonded, visited her. We shared little things. She was already at that stage of her life where she was more pensive than assertive. And I really, really treasured the talks we had up to, 2 weeks ago? On the weekend of the 5th of October, I came to Trinidad, and my cousin Nigel, my uncle Jimmy, and Francis Ann went to watch 10 to 1. After that, we saw Auntie Anne-Marie. Well, we went to hers because we were overnighting there. And at some point the next day, she said to me, Tiencha, I'm turning 89 on the 24th of October. 89. If anybody had told me that I would be corpus mentis at 89, I would never have believed it. Anyway, I'm going to read something that, or some tributes that were sent by my cousins in Canada. The first one is from Nicole, Auntie Janet's third and youngest daughter. While I cannot know what my mum would say if she still had the capacity to share her feelings about her beloved sister, I can share the following from my experience. My mum always prioritized every member of the extended family and kept them as close as possible. I could not know in the first 3 years of my life all my mum's thoughts. But as she prepared to move my sisters and me to Montreal to start our new life there, the fact that her dear sister Anne-Marie was just a few hours away down the highway must have been a factor in her decision to move. I can say for sure that we made that road trip down the 401 quite a few times as I was growing up. It can't have been easy for my mum to deal with 3 quarreling and whining children during a 7-hour trip. But she was determined, and we went. Later, when long drives were harder for her and telephoning was much more accessible, I remember long phone calls to Auntie Anne-Marie and frequent updates about her and Frances Anne, because of course my mum kept up with all the news all the time. 4 years ago, when my mum decided to come home to live in Tobago again, I am sure a big reason was wanting to be near her beloved siblings, my Auntie Grace, Uncle Jimmy, and Auntie Anne-Marie. And I know if her health and mobility had allowed, she would have spent a lot more time in Trinidad visiting, but it just was not possible at this stage of her life. She has expressed many times to me, and I'm sure everyone else, how much she has missed seeing and hearing from Auntie Anne-Marie. With her hearing diminishing to almost nothing for phone calls, she was sad not to be able to talk to her on the phone anymore. And of course it was devastating when Tiencha, my Auntie Grace, and Uncle Jimmy had to break the news to her last week. I was on the phone after they had been trying to explain to her while the combination of the hearing loss and the diminished capacity and the huge shock made it very difficult. It was unbearably heartbreaking. She just couldn't take it in. At 92, my mum has lost a lot. One thing that remains, though, is love. One person who will always be on her mind and in her heart is her dearest Anne-Marie. She would, I hope, find some comfort that her end was peaceful. I wish I could be there to hug my beloved cousins and auntie and uncle in person and to cry with you. That's from Nicole. From Genevieve, the next sister up, Auntie Anne-Marie was a strong contender for the favorite aunt, shining her particular brand of Stewart light on us. Strong, intelligent, independent, and hip. She was a role model for young girls becoming young women. She lived her life as she wanted, following no one's rules, only hers. She was an example of how to excel and live vitally in a foreign land without fear or compromise. We are fortunate to have been part of her family. I'd just like to pause there. Some of us, or all of us, would have been in touch with Auntie Anne-Marie on WhatsApp, probably. When I read Genevieve's words, I thought, how many of us can remember the picture Auntie Anne-Marie has on her profile on WhatsApp? Whenever I see it, I remember and I think, this is funny. She has this girl talking to probably her brother, like Anne-Marie would probably talk to James when they were much younger. I am not bossy. I have skills, leadership skills. Understand? I always, in the short time I knew Auntie Anne-Marie, I always found that funny. Now from Michelle. From the time I was small, I was enamored with my Auntie Anne-Marie. I always thought of her as rebellious and hip. All my aunts were super cool, but Auntie Anne-Marie was the elusive one, and to me, an enigma. She didn't really take me on that much as a child, but no matter. I adored her and very much wanted to be like her. Although I didn't spend as much close time with her as I would have wanted, we did in the later years, and she counseled me at a couple key points in my life for which I will be forever grateful. I have a few standout memories, but my all-time favorite Auntie Anne-Marie memory was when she took myself and Frances Anne to see the R-rated Jamaican film, The Harder They Come. I don't remember exactly how old I am. I was 14, 15 maybe. Anyway, I know for sure I wasn't old enough to be anywhere near an R-rated film. But she put stylish hats on us, dressed us up to look older, and in we went. Francis Ann, do you remember that? In we went. I still remember how exciting it was. I think that outing and the movie, even now, as my introduction to something radical and life-changing, that sums up what I loved about Auntie Anne-Marie. I know my mum, Janet, Auntie Anne-Marie's older sister and best friend, would have loved nothing more than to be standing in front of all of you, recounting the details of their lives together, their shared mischief, and how very much my mother loved and needed her. Last year, in Anne-Marie's West Moorings apartment, I sat with my aunt as her childhood stories spilled out. She shared tales of what she and my mother got up to as kids, which was mostly nothing but trouble. She told me story after story of how my mother was the one who would inevitably start the trouble, but that she would eventually join my mum, a quiet but willing accomplice. During that brief but revealing conversation with Anne-Marie, I learned a lot about my mother's childhood, things my mother had never shared with me. I am grateful to my aunt for that. I loved her and will miss her. Rest in peace, my rebel Auntie Anne-Marie. Love and solace to Francis Ann, and love to all the Stewart family through this loss of one of our own.
Thank you, Tianshaw. Those accounts that came from Tianshaw's cousins in Canada really remind me of the Auntie Anne-Marie whom I knew, who was a real firebrand. And I can remember while I was up there with her in Toronto, when the seatbelt law had just been put in, she defiantly refused to wear a seatbelt, and until I think there was an accident. And then she sheepishly started to wear it. It is 10:15, and I'm wondering if there's anyone else who cares to give us a short tribute. Yes, and Yvonne did raise her hand. So would Joan help Yvonne to the mic, please? On this side, please.
I know Anne-Marie is going to say, "You can do it, Yvonne. You can do it." And that's what I know, and that's what I remember of her as a friend. Perhaps as time goes, I have not been as long time a friend as many people here in this room or relatives. But it's very interesting that anytime we got in touch with each other, it was like what they call it, chewing gum stick onto iron. So I can't get over the fact that Thursday night, I said, wait, I ain't hear from Anne-Marie. And I looked through and I saw a picture of her, and I put it on and I wrote, "How you do? Hugs evermore." And then Grace tells me that she died that morning. So if you look at the rhythm of our relationship, maybe in the next 5 months or 6, we would get together. But I want to just say 2 things about her. And I give her a lot of gratitude, because she definitely, we had a relationship which defined friendship. You can do it, Yvonne. And whatever that it was, she would bring it to me. The other one is when we talked about, and I said in my note to Francis Ann, she had a concept of the struggle, but it was under the personal is political. All those stories, and I'm one of those people. I have the story about Dad, and I tell her stories. And to show her kind of mixed love for her culture and for propriety and for whatever, she could always end a good conversation with me with the lyrics of a calypso. And when a Trinidadian could do that, I give them 6 degrees, 6 PhDs. So I said gratitude and a responsibility to, actually, my name is in her records as living in your house, in her house, simply because immigration was telling me some nonsense. And Marie puts, let me say you're paying me $5. And I saw it the other day, a receipt from Anne-Marie saying that I paid $5 just to have her number, her address on my particulars and so. But I just bring up this last with you, and that is, as I said, when you remember the lyrics, not of everyday calypso, sparrow, kitsch, but Anne-Marie, for me, had a weakness for Conqueror. How many people know Conqueror in here? You know Conqueror? Breast bumping, behind jumping, and she jump up into a thing because she just want to spend me dollars. That's a wrap-up of her, some of the problems that we have in gender and economics and gender. What will I do without you? But I'm not afraid of death. I'm 94, and I told him, safe until I'm 95. For the reason that I want to publish my book, and I hope that all of you will buy a copy. I'm doing a little space pace. Do it, Yvonne. Do it, Yvonne. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminiscences, Yvonne. According to the program, we have a closing hymn, and so I'd like to invite you all to stand to sing this closing hymn. So be set here with dismal cells confound, his strength the more is. No lion can him fry, he'll with a giant fight, but he will have a right to be a pilgrim. Hobgoblin, no foul fiend can daunt his spirit. He knows he at the end shall life inherit. Then fancies fly away and say, to be a pilgrim. I'd like to wrap up by saying my thank you to all of you for coming, and for all of you online for actually logging on and being part of this. I would like to thank my cousin Francis Ann, who nominated me to conduct this service, not knowing that this was one of my ambitions to do a church service. And of course, I would like to thank the people at Belgroves, Chelsea, Amanda, Monique, Dave Gopal, who spoke to me. Dave is right at the back there before the double doors. And Dave gave me a little coaching yesterday. So Dave, thank you very much. To Sheldon, who is our sound and cameraman, thank you very much. And again, to all of you. Now, when this service comes to an end, some of you, whoever cares to, you're invited to attend the cremation up at Tacarigua. There is a bus that will hold, I'm told, about 20 people, so that if you're not in the mood to drive, well, you're welcome to try to squeeze into the bus. We have to run out there fast. And when we get there, then we can continue honoring Anne-Marie's life before we send her off. So thank you all, and this service has officially come to an end.
They say this mountain can't be moved. They say these chains will never break. But they don't know you like we do. There is power in your name. We've heard that there is no way through. We've heard the tide will never change. They haven't seen what you can do. There is power in your name. So much power in your name. Move the immovable, break the unbreakable. God, we believe. God, we believe for it. From the impossible, we'll see a miracle. God, we believe. God, we believe for it. For your mercies never failed me. All my days I've been held